The Lee Enfield saga, a masterpiece of military legacy and literary art by Rockhound, with narrative adaptation by co-pilot. The Echo of Steel. It began in smoke and steel. In the waning years of the 19th century, as empires stretched across continents and warfare teetered on the edge of industrial transformation, a new kind of rifle emerged, not merely a tool of war, but a companion to generations. It would be carried across deserts and jungles, through trenches and tundra by soldiers of the crown and rebels in the hills. It would be fired in anger, in ceremony, and in sport. It would be modified, modernized, and mythologized. This is the story of the Lee Enfield rifle. Born from the minds of James Paris Lee and William Ellis Metford, and forged in the Royal Small Arms Factory at Enfield, it was a rifle that defied obsolescence. From black powder to smokeless cordite, from Imperial Standard to NATO conversion, the Lee Enfield adapted, endured, and excelled. Over the course of more than a century, it became more than a firearm. It became a symbol of craftsmanship, of resilience, of history itself. From single shot to magazine fire, before the thunder of the Lee Enfield echoed across battlefields, the world's armies marched with single-shot rifles, slow, deliberate, and increasingly outpaced by the demands of modern warfare. The American Civil War offered a glimpse of the future. Union troops armed with magazine-fed rifles repelled larger forces wielding single-shot weapons. In 1877, the Turks, equipped with Winchester repeaters, stunned the Russians at Plevna. The message was clear: firepower wins battles. Europe took notice. Germany led the charge, adapting the 11mm Mauser to accept a magazine. But the real leap came not just in capacity, but in caliber. Smaller bullets meant lighter loads and more ammunition per soldier. The age of the magazine rifle had arrived. In 1887, the British Army issued the .303-inch Lee Metford Mark I, replacing the hulking 45-inch Martini Henry and the .402-inch Enfield Martini. With its 8-round magazine and brass cartridges filled with black powder, it was a step forward, but not yet the leap. By 1892, the Lee Metford Mark I was refined, and in 1898, on the eve of the Boer War, the Mark II arrived, now firing cordite-filled rounds. The Lee Enfield magazine rifle Mark I followed in 1900 with a detachable 10-round box magazine. Colonial troops received it first, while British infantry still carried the Lee Metford Mark II into South Africa. Cavalry units received their own version in 1897, the Lee Enfield Carbine Mark I. Lighter and shorter, it was scaled for mobility with sights calibrated to 2,000 meters. Meanwhile, Germany had adopted the 7.92mm Mauser with a 5-round clip system. Britain, learning from Boer War experience, followed suit, converting the Lee Metford Mark II to charger loading in 1902 and issuing the updated Lee Enfield rifle the same year. In 1899, the British Army also adopted the Maxim automatic machine gun, a water-cooled .303 caliber beast capable of 450 rounds per minute. The age of rapid fire had truly begun. But the Lee Metford, for all its innovation, was still tethered to black powder, its rifling elegant but shallow, or quickly under the heat and pressure of cordite. The solution? A new barrel, a new name, a new legend. The Lee Enfield was ready to take its place in history. Lee Metford, the black powder bridge. The Lee Metford rifle was a marvel of its time, a bridge between the old world of black powder and the new age of smokeless firepower. It was the first British service rifle to combine James Paris Lee's revolutionary bolt action system with William Ellis Metford's polygonal rifling, and it marked a turning point in military small arms. Lee's bolt was a masterpiece of ergonomics and efficiency. With rear-mounted locking lugs and a short bolt throw, it allowed the rifleman to cycle rounds rapidly without breaking his sight picture. The bolt handle sat just above the trigger, enabling seamless operation. Thumb and forefinger on the bolt, middle finger on the trigger, compared to the longer, clumsier actions of Mauser and Mannlicher designs. The Lee bolt was a revelation. Metford's rifling was equally innovative. Its shallow, rounded grooves reduced fouling from black powder residue and made cleaning easier, a crucial advantage in the field. Together, Lee and Metford created a rifle that was fast, smooth, and forward-thinking. But it was also a rifle caught between eras. The Lee Metford was designed for smokeless powder, yet delays in selecting a suitable propellant forced the British to rely on black powder cartridges. When cordite finally arrived, it proved too harsh for Metford's rifling, wearing out barrels after just 6,000 rounds. The deeper, square-cut Enfield rifling offered greater durability, up to 10,000 rounds, and soon replaced Metford's design. Thus, the Lee Metford became a transitional figure, mechanically brilliant but chemically outpaced. It went through several revisions, including changes to the magazine from 8-round single-stack to 10-round staggered sights and safety mechanisms. Magazines were even chained to the rifle to prevent loss, as they were expensive to produce. Despite its limitations, the Lee Metford saw combat in the Second Boer War, where its shortcomings in accuracy and sighting were exposed. Yet even in defeat, it laid the groundwork for its successor. Captured Lee Metfords became prized weapons for Boer fighters when their Mauser ammunition ran dry, a testament to the rifle's reliability. The British considered a radical departure the pattern 1913 Enfield based on a modified Mauser design. But war intervened, and the adaptable Lee Enfield remained in service for another half-century. The Lee Metford was never perfect, but it was necessary. It was the stepping stone to greatness. SMLU, the rifle that won a world war, the short magazine Lee Enfield, or SMLE, was born from the lessons of colonial warfare and the demands of a modern battlefield. Introduced in 1907, it was shorter, lighter, and faster than its predecessors, designed for both infantry and cavalry, eliminating the need for separate carbines. Its 10-round magazine, fed by 5-round chargers, gave British troops unmatched firepower. The bolt action, refined from the Lee Metford, allowed rapid cycling. Trained riflemen could fire 15 aimed shots per minute, a rate that stunned German forces in the early days of World War I. The SMLE Mark III was the pinnacle of pre-war design. It featured a long-range volley sight, magazine cutoff, and fine craftsmanship. But war is a crucible of necessity. As the trenches demanded mass production over precision, the Mark III Star was introduced, simplified, stripped of non-essential features, and easier to manufacture. The SMLE became a symbol of British resolve. In the mud of Flanders, the heat of Gallipoli, and the deserts of Palestine, it delivered. Its ruggedness, reliability, and rate of fire earned it the nickname the rifle that won the war. Even as newer designs emerged, the SMLE endured. It was more than a rifle. It was a companion to the Tommy, a tool of empire, and a legend in its own time. By the late 1930s, the British Army sought a rifle that could match the precision of the Mauser while retaining the speed of the Lee Enfield. The result was the rifle No. 4 Mark I. It retained the Lee bolt and 10-round magazine, but introduced a heavier barrel, simplified sights, and a squared-off receiver for easier machining. The No. 4 was built for war, robust, accurate, and efficient. During World War II, it served across every theater from the beaches of Normandy to the jungles of Burma. Sniper variants, fitted with No. 32 scopes, proved deadly at long range. The No. 4's balance of firepower and precision made it a favorite among marksmen and infantry alike. Post-war, it remained in service through Korea and beyond, gradually replaced by semi-automatics but never forgotten. The No. 4 was the last great evolution of the Lee Enfield lineage, a rifle that had matured into mastery. In the dense jungles of Southeast Asia, the No. 4 rifle proved too long and heavy. Enter the rifle No. 5 Mark I, better known as the Jungle Carbine. Shortened, lightened, and fitted with a flash suppressor, It was designed for mobility and close quarters combat,
After.
but it came with drawbacks, increased recoil, reduced accuracy, and a wandering zero that plagued its sights. Despite its flaws, it saw action in Burma, Malaya, and other post-war conflicts. Paratroopers and commandos appreciated its compact form, even as its shortcomings limited widespread adoption. The Jungle Carbine was a bold experiment, an attempt to adapt a century-old design to a new kind of warfare. It didn't last, but it left its mark. In India, the Lee Enfield found new life. The Ishapore rifle factory continued production long after Britain moved on, issuing the Rifle 2A and 2A1 chambered in 7.62 NATO. Externally similar to the No. 1 Mark III Star, these rifles featured strengthened receivers and new barrels to handle the higher pressures of the NATO round. They served into the 1980s, a testament to the enduring design. The Ishapore rifles were the final chapter in the Lee Enfield's military service, a last salute to a rifle that had served across continents and generations. The Lee Enfield's journey is also a story of ammunition, .303 British, the original smokeless round, loaded with cordite, rimmed and powerful. It defined the rifle's legacy. .22 long rifle, used in training rifles, allowing recruits to learn marksmanship without full recoil. 7.62 NATO, adopted in the Ishapore 2A rifles, bringing the Lee Enfield into the modern era. .410 shotgun, converted from surplus rifles for police and riot control. 7.62 by 39mm, experimental conversions, rare but intriguing. .45 ACP, used in suppressed Lisle carbines for covert operations. .308 Winchester, civilian conversions, popular among hunters and sport shooters. .375 flanked Nitro Express, custom builds for big game hunting. .4570 Government, a nod to American heritage, rare but powerful. .50 BMG, extreme conversions, more novelty than practicality. Each caliber tells a story of adaptation, innovation, and the rifle's unmatched versatility. The Jungle Carbine was a ghost in the night. Built on a modified SMLE action chambered in .45 ACP and fitted with an integral suppressor, it was one of the quietest firearms ever made. Used by British commandos in World War II, it allowed silent kills behind enemy lines. Its bolt-action design ensured minimal noise, and its subsonic ammunition kept it stealthy. The Lisle was rare, expensive, and deadly, a specialized tool for a specialized war. After the war, surplus Lee Enfields flooded the civilian market. Hunters, sport shooters, and gunsmiths transformed them, cutting barrels, reshaping stocks, wreck-ham-burning calibers. In Canada, Australia, and the United States, they became deer rifles, bear guns, and target shooters. Some were elegant, others crude, but all carried the soul of the original. The Lee Enfield's adaptability made it a favorite among tinkerers and traditionalists alike. It was no longer just a military rifle, it was a canvas. Today, the Lee Enfield is cherished by collectors and historians. Original SMLEs, No. 4s, and rare variants fetch high prices. Markings, serial numbers, and regimental stamps tell stories of battles fought and soldiers served. Restoration is an art. Preservation is a passion. The Lee Enfield is more than metal and wood. It's memory. The Lee Enfield is not just a rifle, it's a myth. It represents an era when craftsmanship met necessity, when soldiers relied on skill and steel. It's the rifle of empire, of resistance, of endurance. It's the click of a bolt, the crack of a shot, the silence after victory. It's history you can hold. The Lee Enfield may no longer serve in the front lines, but its echo remains. In museums, in hunting camps, in reenactments and remembrance, it lives on. It taught generations to shoot, to fight, to survive. And in the hands of those who understand its story, it still speaks, not in words, but in legacy. Thank you for tuning in to yet another of my unusual and obsolete but still in use videos. If you've enjoyed it, please drop a like, and if I've earned it, subscribe too. Until next time, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate your listening to my ramblings.